so well. We're here at round 3 at Ellough Park. It's lovely conditions, and I believe you have some memories here.
Yes, so last year I had a bit of a laughable fall, brake failure, straight into the tyres, proper Superman. It's hopefully not this year.
Yeah, I hope not. And how do you feel like your seasons went so far, both in the Moto team and the senior Minimoto?
Yeah, really good. We've gone over to the Moto team class with the new regulations this year, which is 17-inch wheel tyres. Basically, for us, we thought we were going to have some major problems, but it's been fantastic, really good racing. Been racing with Darren, and shame it doesn't look like he's here this weekend, but hopefully some more good racing with him later on in the year.
Yeah, and between the two classes, is there a main focus, or are you treating them both equally?
I think both equally. The Minimotos are just so fun, so we can't ever not do that. But the Moto team is just a new venture now, so hopefully same results on both bikes.
Yeah, and we've already spoken about your memories here at Ellough Park. What do you think of the track in general?
Really good circuit. They've changed it again this year, which is good. It's always nice to have a new chicane or a new corner here and there. Really good surface, hardly any bumps, so fingers crossed, no crashes today.
Yeah, and finally, what is your aim for this season?
Win the championship. That's the plan.
Thanks, Will.
Cheers.
As we get the Moto team boys out and ready to get going onto the grid, as they pull out of the dummy grid. Of course, we've got two different classes here in Moto Team. You've got the Moto Team Superstock, as Lewis said. That is basically your standard bike that you've bought from a seller, and you basically slapped, as Lewis said, you slapped a race number and you slapped a fairing on it, and off you go. You've also got the Open class. That's a bit less road legal, well, it's still road legal, but a bit less than the street stock, shall we say. It's a bit more modifications, a bit more you can do to the bikes. You've got two different classes. It's very confusing. What's even more confusing this year is that they've stopped categorising the championships together and started categorising them separately, which makes sense, to be fair, from like a championship standpoint. Of course, you know, there's no point mixing up, you know, the Moto team, you know, the two different classes into one, but at the same time, it is a bit confusing, and my brain can't comprehend it, unfortunately. I was never that good at maths. But anyway, as they're pulling up onto the grid, you'll see there Will Howarth on the number 96. That is actually Will Howarth on the bike. Jason Pugh on the number 8. That is actually Jason Pugh on the number 8. Behind them, Jay King on the number 1. That is actually Jay King, the reigning Moto team champion. He's also a pit bike 140 3-time champion in the past, and what he sometimes does as well as they head out on their formation lap, he sometimes actually offers out runs on his Moto team bike to his subscribers on his Pit Bike Sonic YouTube channel, which is also a great way to get some behind-the-scenes FAB-Racing access. So if you ever fancy winning a Moto team ride or getting some behind-the-scenes access, of course you can go check out Jay's YouTube channel. But as we get going now on the formation lap, I think it's about time that we ran you through the grid. It will be Will Howarth starting from the pole position with Jason Pugh alongside on that number 8 machine. Jay King starts in P3 with Jack Andrews in P4. Scott Jewitt is P5 with Malcolm Steyn in P6. Jamie Diss is 7th with Phillip JOYCE in 8th, with Lynton DI MEOLA and Ryan Button rounding out the top 10. And then on the John Keats machine, it's not John Keats, it's who is on the John Keats? We were told earlier, but it's already slipped my mind. It's Ross Morgan. That's who's on the John Keats machine. Apologies to Ross. And I've been told to say that Ross, the Welsh, I'll call him the Welsh Wizard. That's not what he wrote down as his own nickname. It starts with a W. It doesn't end in Izzard. I've been told to say that he's not last, so he doesn't shout at me. But I've already forgotten that he was riding in this race, so I feel like I'm going to get shouted at after this anyway. Do apologise, Ross. Rounding out the grid anyway is Ian Baker, who unfortunately I've just dissed as being last in that saving my own skin there. Apologies, Ian. But lining up on the grid now, Lewis, for the Moto team. It's a bit different, but it's a bit of a laugh anyway, isn't it? Let's go racing, shall we?
Yeah, let's go racing. The marshals go off the grid. They all look up to the lights. We wait for the lights to rise. The lights are on and it's long haul. The lights are off. And that is a jump start from Jamie King. He will not be wanting that. That is, I think, a 3-second penalty for a jump start. And Will Howarth tries to go around the outside of Jamie King. But Jamie King, of course, run that number 1 plate from winning the championship. It's Will Howarth who now leads the way. But Jamie King's diving up the inside again, trying to make the most of this jump start as he knows a penalty is coming his way.
Yeah, absolutely. Of course, we were strictly told over the tannoy earlier. I didn't want to mention it, as there we see there Will Howarth getting back through, and then Will Howarth might have a problem because he's just massively slowed, and Will Howarth's got a problem. So Will Howarth going massively backwards. It might be okay because he just seemed like he got going again, but he just dropped back. So it's Jay King still leading the way, but with a 3-second penalty now. Jump starts, unfortunately, seemingly quite a common occurrence here at Ellough. We haven't seen any so far today, but across the years we've had quite a few, to put it mildly. And that is a 3-second penalty, no ifs, no buts. Or the race director Roger will come and hunt you down in the paddock and give you a stern telling off. Will Howarth getting a move on once again after that half an issue he seemingly had, but has seemingly solved itself now. Jack Andrews, fastest lap of the race with that run through. But it is Jay King leading the way on the road, but applying post-race penalties immediately because we know he's got one. Jason Pugh currently leading the way. He's got about half a second back to P2 Will Howarth there, who's actually got through. So it's now Will Howarth leading the way. But Jay King's in the way on the road, and now Will Howarth's Will Howarth sliding. Oh my goodness me, Jamie King. That was defending and a half, wasn't it? Slamming the door on Will Howarth. And we have confirmation from race control, as expected, that Jay King is getting slapped with a 3-second penalty after that jump start. But Will Howarth doesn't care. He's trying to finish first on the road anyway, and he's risking it all, looking up the inside in places where you really shouldn't be looking. Up the inside, maybe into turn 1. He's got a bit of a run in the toe. No, Jay King maintains that P1 on the road for the time being. One thing that is hurting Jamie King, though, is if he's defending against Will Howarth like he is, that's going to bunch everyone up behind Will Howarth. So overall, he may actually lose more places if he tries to hold on to that first on the road than if he lets him through. Because if he lets him through, he has the chance to, not bunch him up behind and get a bit of a gap, because there is a bit of a gap already from 4th down to 5th. If he's fighting them as Will Howarth finally slides past on the inside, takes the lead on the road, as well as in theory, it's going to bunch up all the riders behind him. If he's just being a moving roadblock, he might actually lose more places.
Yeah, he might. I mean, I think right now, if he can just keep with Will Howarth, it could be the best thing for him, because Will Howarth has the pace to win this race, and he's shown some great pace all weekend. So if he can keep with Will Howarth and try to go with him as Will Howarth tries to bridge a gap over Jason Pugh, and then, well, hopefully, for Jamie's sake, this 3-second penalty will not hurt him too much and will not hurt his championship defence chances. But Will Howarth leads the way now by 0.6 of a second over Jamie King, but of course he does have that penalty. So it's Jason Pugh, who in reality is in second place, and Jack Andrews will be delighted to hopefully try and get a podium in today's MotoTeam race. But Will Howarth, dominant performance. He's not got Darren Anderson this time round, that for the first 2 rounds has put it to him and made it very, very difficult. We seen last round at Clandell, last lap battles between Will Howarth and Darren Anderson, but this time he doesn't have that to worry about. He can just run his own race, run his own lap times. He knows that he has the pace to try and win this race. And well, we seen earlier Will Howarth dropping all the way down to 4th, and I believe he did just miss a gear, and with it being a 2-stroke, it's slightly more difficult to get that power back up, so it'll let Jack Andrews and Jason Pugh get past him. But Jamie King actually was like he's in the lead of the race.
I mean, obviously Jamie, he won't know he's been given a penalty, in the theory that obviously there's no communication between race control and the riders out there, but he knows that a jump start is a penalty, and he's still going. Respect to Jay King, but I've got no idea what's going on. I'll have to ask him later. Well, there we go. Will Howarth probably not the most happy bunny on the planet as he's looking to the inside now, diving down the inside into the Wones hairpin. A great move. Jamie King tries the switch back. Jamie King gets the switch back, but Will Howarth gets better drag and better drive out of the corner, and is able to put the power down more effectively through the rear wheel. And again, takes the lead. Jay King having a glance back. Yes, Jay, you're going to drop down to 4th at this rate, given the gaps, because they're too close. He's getting away with it. So Jamie King 2nd on the road as it stands with 7 laps to go. If we finish as we do now, off the bike, that's Jack Andrews that's gone down. Jack Andrews sliding off the bike. That's coming out of a hairpin, I believe. That's a very strange. So he's actually lost the front of the bike, I think, coming out of a corner. That's a very strange place to be having an accident. Coming out of the right-hander down at Shoemakers. That's a very strange accident, but he's managed to get going again. looks like the bike is okay. There's Will Howarth, he's already put a massive gap on Jamie King. It was a half a second at the line. This time visually it's massive already. We'll see now as they come to the line on all our timing what the gap is, and it is now 2.5 seconds. Jamie King's dropped 2 seconds in a lap. I'm not sure if that shows how fast Will Howarth is at the moment and how great he's been this season, or if Jay King's just, backed off for some reason. Maybe he's having a problem, but Will Howarth, 2.5 seconds to the good in the lead. Now he's looking pretty solid for the win at the moment.
Yeah, he certainly has. Jamie King, all he tried to do was just make the most of that jump start. As we see Russell Morgan on our screen, and it's Will Howarth just trying to get past Russell Morgan on the John Keats bike, but there you go, past the Welshman, and just 6 laps to go in this race. And Jack Andrews, it's not a result he wants. He's dropped down to 8th place, and I do believe it was just as soon as he tapped on that throttle with the lean angle, it took all the weight off his front tyre, and that just made it fold, and well, he went down and ruined his race, and he was in great position and one that he could have potentially got 2nd place from. But Will Howarth leads the way with 4-second gap. And reminder, 1 year ago this circuit, Will Howarth has some memories. He had a brake failure on his Minimoto in the senior Minimoto race, and he actually flew over the tyre wall. So this circuit has some good and some happy memories, but right now Will Howarth is on the way to try and make some more happy memories.
Yeah, the crash compilation from last year is on YouTube, is all I'm going to say. It is a spectacle to behold. But Will Howarth currently leading the way on his MotoTeam bike. We managed to catch for an interview as well earlier, so if you're watching along tomorrow, you can see us speaking with Will Howarth and what he had to say about this weekend here at Ellough. Of course, it's a big track. A lot of the riders, saying it's a very big, very physical circuit. You've got to be very physically fit to perform well around here. And, it's very tough. It's fast, it's narrow, it's very technical as well. Coming into the final section, there's undulation all throughout the track, and it's you've got to be very, very on it, both mentally and physically around here, as well as having the talent and the dedication that being a fast rider here at FAB needs. Will Howarth, though, fastest lap of the race last time out at 53.280, and I'm just checking, that is a new lap record for Will Howarth. So there you go. As we've been seeing all day long, the GP bikes setting new lap records, and Will Howarth this time around to 53.280. Absolutely smashes the previous one set by himself, funnily enough, in 2020. That is a massive lap. Will Howarth, he's absolutely on it right now. He's pulled 6 seconds, nearly 7 seconds on Jay King. He is flying out there at the moment. And although the last lap not quite as good for him, unfortunately, he's got 8 seconds on Jay King right now, 8.3. Will Howarth is putting his Minimoto brake failure well behind him as we look further down the field. See some of the riders challenging for places. Lynton DI MEOLA in P4, holding off Phillip JOYCE and Malcolm STEYN for 5th and 6th positions. And DI MEOLA, he's a rider who's been improving very quickly across the year. He came along in late. Wasn't was kind of there or thereabouts, but he's been really pushing hard. You can see he's done a lot of work on the bike. It's more of a pit bike style machine than the others. Still a GP bike, but not quite as Grand Prix as some of the other ones, shall we say, just from visuals alone. But he's been putting in a big effort. It shows, throughout the classes here, the dedication that goes into, riding at FAB. But even if you're just doing it for fun, as many of the older riders are, there's still a lot of hard work and dedication that goes into it.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, FAB attracts riders from all different backgrounds, from all different age ranges and all different experiences. It's great to see. And there we have it. It is Jack Andrews on your screen now in 7th place that can see the battle for 4th right now, so he can hopefully still try and get a good result, even though he's crashed. So I think 4th place wouldn't be too bad for him as he dives up the inside of Malcolm STEYN. And what a move that was. It was aggressive, but he made it stick, and it's bridged a slight gap there but just 2 laps to go in this race, and Jack Andrews is trying to make the most out of a bad situation, really. A 40-second gap to the win, so that is clearly out the window. But it seems with going on to the last lap now, that the win is out the window for anyone else apart from Will Howarth. Will Howarth has been absolutely dominant in that race. It's 12.5 second gap from Jamie King, who of course will not finish in second, so really it's Jason Pugh who we have to think about. Jason Pugh is in second place right now with a 12.7 second gap from Will Howarth. But Will Howarth has been absolutely dominant this time out as he goes round. He's just trying to stay on the bike right now. Will Howarth has done amazing. It's better memories than what he had on the senior Minimoto as we head into the final sector. Amazing ride there from him. Consistent, dominant. It is what Will Howarth can do as he heads around the final corner. Will Howarth wins. He'll be absolutely delighted with that performance, and what an amazing ride that was. He done absolutely everything perfect, and a new lap record on that 52. Final lap. A 52.8, the first ever 52 on a MotoTeam bike. Remember, it's a 54.310 at the start of the race, and it went down to 53s, and now it's a 52. There was absolutely nothing anyone could do.
Just about sums up Will Howarth's performance there, doesn't it? Absolutely fantastic. Jamie King demoted to third place in the end on the road. He's actually far enough in front of Lynton DI MEOLA, I believe, that he won't actually drop any more positions. So it should be Jamie King rounding out the podium, Jason Pugh in P2. But Will Howarth, wow, what a ride that was. Absolutely dominant. I mean, it was just absolutely perfect, wasn't it? I don't think he put a wheel wrong. It was just brilliant riding. You know, once he got ahead of the jump-starting Jamie King, was just flying away. There you go, 16 seconds was the winning margin for Will Howarth. Jason Pugh in P2, Jamie King in P3, rounding out your podium. Jack Andrews managed to get into P4 after that fall. Lynton DI MEOLA unfortunately dropping to 5th at the end, with Malcolm Steyn and Phillip JOYCE in 6th and 7th. Scott Jewett was P8, Jamie Diss was P9, and Ryan Button was P10. And then just outside of the top 10, we had the 666 and the 229 machines. That concludes a brilliant MotoTeam race.
Will Howarth, he was unstoppable yesterday. He just looked to be on it, but he did have a technical problem that looked to see. So it's really going to be all eyes on Will Howarth again this race to see what can come. And obviously, at the start of the race last time, we did have quite a big jump start from Jay King, who we've been talking about for the past day now. We've been calling him Jump Start Jay King. We've been taunting him about it, and we were speaking to him this morning, and he's basically said to us that the bike's been not getting off the line all year, and now they fixed it, and now, well, it was a shock to the system, and it got away
too well, didn't it? Of course, I don't think it really compares to the jump start of like 3/4 of the rookies field, but you know, it was still a very big jump away from the lights, and he was basically said, you know, he started going, and he thought, well, I'm just going to go now, aren't I? So he just floored it, and it didn't actually affect him in the end. He was still the winner of the standard class race, and it didn't drop him any positions. He was so far ahead of the people behind him as we got some action from the nearby airfield. Plane coming down, very nice to see. Some lovely atmosphere here at Lyd, of course. We're at Ellough Park. Some lovely atmosphere at Ellough Park, of course. It is a very nice part of the world here in sunny Suffolk. The sun seems to have taken a little bit of a trip away behind some clouds. Hopefully it comes back out, because it is nice and warm here, albeit a bit windy here in Suffolk in the southeast of England. As we just get ready, the MotoTeam guys just waiting, a little bit of debris being cleared up from the race prior. So hopefully that gets cleared up quickly, and we can get the MotoTeam boys out onto the grid. But yeah, as you said, it was it was the Will Howarth show yesterday, wasn't it? And Jay King with that massive jump start. I mean, we were talking about it earlier, of course, the jump starts. It's actually surprisingly easy to do here, it is, because the start light mechanism is actually on the outside of race control. So the race director, Roger Keys, has to go down and stand outside of race control in the eyesight of all of the riders. And what you get is sometimes riders thinking they can be a bit cheeky and watch Roger and see when he goes to press the lights and then try and go then, but then you get a jump start, and you know, that's a penalty, unfortunately. But we haven't seen too many of that actually this year, to be fair. You know, we've only seen Jay and then the rookies. Apart from that, it's all been pretty clean. So hopefully we can say that we're in the Moto team this time. Bye.
Yeah, certainly. I mean, with the lights, there's only 2 small lights. There's not that many lights to watch, so sometimes it can be hard to see, especially when the sun's out. It's just hitting off the light at a strange angle. It can be hard for these riders, but it's still no excuse. I mean, especially whenever you're looking over at Roger trying to get an advantage, and Roger will know you're looking and will sometimes pretend to press him, but he's not really. I mean, it's just mind games, and we wait for these riders to go out.
The race director and the riders.
Exactly.
I mean. Oh, we're only at FAB as the MotoTeam guys start to head out onto the grid. And yeah, hopefully no jump starts this time, but once again, it was all Will Howarth yesterday in MotoTeam, which is a bit of a confusing class. It's a bit more simple this year because they got rid of the pit bikes, but it's all about the bike and not about the rider. So because they got rid of the pit bikes, it's not so confusing this year. But what you get sometimes is you get different riders on the bike, and you can't tell because the name that you'll be seeing on your screen, see some very grey clouds coming over. It was scheduled to rain earlier in the week. And then it said it was going to be sunny the last time I checked, so hopefully no rain due to come down. But yeah, here in MotoTeam, the name that you'll be seeing on the side of your screen is the name of the bike that's entered, but because they've changed the regulations, so it's all kind of these GP-style machines this year, it's usually the person who's entered. So it's a little bit easier this year than it was last year. See there, that's Will Howarth on the inside.
Will Howarth actually at the back of the grid there.
And, Will Howarth is at the back of the grid. Something very weird going on there. Will Howarth's gone to the back of the grid. That's actually Jason Pugh alongside Jay King that you're seeing there. So that's a bit confusing. I'm not sure what's going on with Will Howarth, but we'll have to wait and see as we get out onto our formation lap.
Yeah, it's strange there. I mean, Will Howarth, it's definitely going to make life a lot more difficult starting from back there, but maybe he might just think he has the pace. And yeah, it should be a great race today. And as we have a look at the grid with what should be Will Howarth starting in pole position with Jason Pugh in second, Jamie King hopefully a better start this time around, starting in third with Jack Andrews, hopefully staying on the bike this time around. He did make a good recovery after crashing, starting in fourth, Scott Jewett in fifth and Malcolm STEYN in sixth, Jamie Diss starting in seventh and Phillip JOYCE in eighth, Lynton DI MEOLA starting in ninth and Ryan Button in 10th, John Keats in 11th, who his objective this weekend, it's not John Keats actually on the bike.
Ross Morgan is
it's
on
Ross
the bike.
Morgan, yes. And his objective is not to come last. And so far he's done that, and Ian Baker will be starting in 12th, rounding off the grid.
Yeah, so a pretty decently sized MotoTeam grid here this weekend. Sometimes it's a bit small, but good to see. As Jay King, I've just seen out of our commentary box windows, you see some more of the Ellough Park scenery as a plane flying overhead. Just looking behind, probably thinking, well, what is Will actually doing? Because he is stopping very far. You know what? I think he's trying to do a last to first. Because he's not sat on pole. I mean, you can't quite see him. Race controller confused, I've just been told in my ear, and then someone's actually going, you can't see him, you can actually just see him at the back of the camera shot. The flag marshal stood next to him. I'm convinced he's trying to do a last to first challenge. Let's find out, shall we? Red lights go on. Red lights out, we're underway here in the MotoTeam. Will Howarth doesn't get a great getaway at the back, but we'll have to see what happens. And it's a great start there from Pugh. He manages to get away really well on that number 8 machine. Jay King, not the best start, but of course at least he waited for the light this time around. So it's Pugh from King who gets away. But the story of the day at the moment, what is Will Howarth doing? He's already carving his way through the pack at the back of the pack. Well, what on earth is going on?
Yeah, it's quite a strange thing to do. Will Howarth obviously maybe just want a bit more fun. He did set lap records yesterday, so he clearly knows he has the pace, and he thinks he has the pace even for some fast riders like Jamie King and Jason Pugh. I mean, they're so fast, so it's quite a risky thing to do to go that far back. Only 10 riders showing up on their timing right now, so he's already diving up the inside. Actually, we can just see out a commentary box.
That's into fifth place.
He's in fifth. So he's made up so much time in this first lap, and now all eyes are going to be on him. Here he is on our screen right now, getting ready, going ready outside a triple free bike, and already he is going to be up into
fourth place.
Fourth place.
It's fifth. Is it fourth? Fifth?
Yeah, just behind Jamie King.
Yeah, it's saying that Jack Andrews is leading, even though Jason Pugh's leading. It's saying Jason Pugh and Jay King are at the back. So I'm not entirely sure what's going on, but that's Will Howarth looking to the outside of Jay King, anyway, sweeping past Jay King. So Jack Andrews up next. So that is up into third place for Will Howarth. He must be doing a last to first. That, I'm not sure if that's just having a laugh or that's just, I'm better than all of you. I need to have a word with him over the lunch break, because that is unbelievable from Will Howarth. And at the moment, it's been 1.5 laps and he's already up to third. He's pulling off and he's diving down the inside of Jack Andrews into second place. Only Jason Pugh to go, and Will Howarth I'm honest, I don't really know what to say. This is unbelievable. Will Howarth, he's up to second already. I mean, Lewis, obviously, I'm not sure if you've ever done the last to first before. I mean, you obviously you ride yourself and you race yourself, but are you actually allowed to do that?
Yeah, I mean, you can if you want, but not many people want to do it. I think you might just be trying to give us more of a show and maybe more fun for himself, because there's nothing really too fun sometimes running at the front, because obviously Darren Anderson's not here this time out, so he's running at the front by himself and just trying to beat his own lap times, and maybe he's not enjoying that as much. The best I've ever done was last of fourth, and that felt pretty amazing. So he will be feeling so good right now, and it'll also be destroying every single rider's confidence that he's going past. The fact that he's making this much time, I mean, he passed Jamie King within 1 or 2 laps. And Jamie looked at him and seen how far back he was. That was destroyed him. And Jason Pugh, he's right on his back and watched. Yeah, this will be a great lap from a 52.8.
Just 13 thousandths, no, it's a thousandth of a hundredth of a second even lap record there for Will Howarth. Great lap. And that, bear in mind, he's chasing down Pugh as well. He's been fighting his way through, so Howarth absolutely on it. Last by about 10 grid slots, and now he's fighting for the lead in 3 laps. Honestly, I'm struggling to think about what to say. There you go, last first, done. It's pretty easy, wasn't it? Will Howarth, what a ride. What a rider, what a performance, and it's been 3 laps from last to first. I don't really know what to say. I mean, obviously, it's a shame that Darren Anderson isn't here this weekend, because he wouldn't be bored, I guess it's safe to say. But apparently, he's so bored of being out on the front, he's set himself a challenge that he's conquered in 3 laps. Take a bow. That's just unbelievable.
Yeah, I mean, and still 8 laps to go in this race, so plenty of time to make a gap and make yourself nice and comfortable. It's already up to 1.1 seconds. I mean, Jason Pugh will be seeing this and he will be like, how has he done this? Jason Pugh will not know how he's done it, so Jason Pugh cannot stick with him. It looks like the gap is just widening. But the thing is, Will Howarth, he has double tracked him this weekend, of course, also in the senior Minimotos, and we were speaking to him yesterday, and this is maybe another attempt at trying to make some better memories at his track. Of course, had a brake failure last year in the senior Minimotos, going over the tyre wall. Such a spectacular crash, and now he's just trying to make more memories. Something else you can say he's done here is go from last to first. But one thing that Will Howarth needs to work on, needs to try and not do right now, is try and overstep the mark. As soon as you overstep the mark on a motorcycle, they're so unforgiving. It takes one little chance to go in the throttle too early, or one little too hard squeeze of the brakes for too late, and then you're down on the deck. And just 7 laps to go in this race, already a 3-second lead. That is the last thing that he wants to do.
Yeah, of course, but it's been domination so far this weekend from Will Howarth, and domination, it seems set to continue. What a performance that we're already seeing with 7 laps to go. Yeah, you said, I mean, all it takes is one little margin. I mean, we saw with Mark Holt in race 2 of the GP70s, I mean, lap record, demolished the lap record that had been set earlier in that race by 0.5 of a second, and then ever so slightly oversteps his mark and down on the floor, out of the race. That is all it takes. So Will Howarth, he can push. He's already coming to lap some traffic. He can push. We've got some battles further back as well, which is great to see. He can push, and he can try and get lap records and try and lap everyone. But he's not going to overstep the mark. He's not going to push too hard. Further back in the back, we've got some action going on as well. A bit of a 5-bike train going on, coming into the back end of the circuit. I believe this is Lynton DI MEOLA out the front in the number 41 GP bike. Obviously, pit bikes aren't really allowed anymore. You have to have a larger wheel motorcycle. You're not allowed the little 12-inch wheels. He's leading this pack. Phillip JOYCE, Scott JEWITT, Malcolm STEYN involved. Jamie Diss as well in the background. So a bit of a train coming, maybe some fighting going. We've got half the race left, 6 laps left to go here in the Moto team race. DI MEOLA holding on to 5th place again. Another rider who we know is very good at defending. He's able just to kind of get his position at the start, and that's usually where he stays all race. He just kind of runs his own thing, just keeps everyone else behind him and just finishes. And that's what he's really good at, and that's what he's done so far this season. And again, we're seeing here in race 2, that's what he's doing. Just got into that 5th place, and he's holding on to it.
Yes, he's holding on for his dear life, because it's such a big train behind him. I mean, Phillip JOYCE is on his tail. He's wanting to try to find any way past, and then there's a small gap, and there's another 3 riders behind them. Scott JEWITT, Malcolm STEYN and Jamie Diss and Ryan Button, all there. They're all ready to pounce for this 5th place. It's such close racing here in the Moto team, but it's great to see that there was racing everywhere, and there's Will Howarth getting past some lap traffic. I believe that is the Welsh wizard himself.
Yeah, I believe that is Ross Morgan. He's getting past. It's his first time on two wheels here. Ross Morgan is usually on the sidecar, and you know he said his goal wasn't to finish last. And to be fair, he's in last, so you know he's doing a good enough job by my book. But yeah, Will Howarth, of course, it's great to see you. You know, it is good to see a healthy motor team. Sometimes you get quite a small motor team grid, so 12 riders is great to see. It is of course a very, very cheap form of racing. It's the cheapest form of racing you can really get. Really, all you have to do is basically buy a bike, put a number on it, and you can go. It is it's proper racing. If you fancy getting involved at home, this is potentially the perfect way for you to get involved. Of course, you can go and check out the FAB-Racing website or the FAB-Racing Facebook page for more information on that. Maybe you can come and join in, or maybe you can join in one of the other classes as well. I mean, pit bikes is so popular. They now have a reserve list for races. You have to book your way in advance to races. How that shows the popularity of the pit bike 140 class here. And of course, for the seniors, this is a very cheap, very viable alternative. Of course, if you've got a young kid who maybe wants to get involved as well, the Minimotos, the Mini GPs as well, they're a perfect way to start a fledgling motorcycle career. So of course, make sure that you check out those places if you fancy giving it a go. You've got a family member who fancies giving it a go. And of course, FAB is a wonderful community here. It is a real family feel, and everyone gets on so well with one another. I'm sure Lewis can vouch for that as well. So it is, a lovely place to be. And of course, you get to enjoy some racing action every once in a while. So it is a great place to be. And MotoTeam is one of the finest places, one of the cheapest places as well that you can go racing.
Yeah, as you said, it's practically just a standard bike with some race fairings put on it, or in Lynton's case, it's just take a fairing off the front. I mean, that's even a cheaper way to do it. You just take the fairing off, and then if you do crash, it's less damage and less things to break, really. So it's a great class, and just a great race. And there's another backmarker, Ian Baker, that they're just trying to manoeuvre around. Maybe we can see something like before, like we've seen yesterday, backmarkers coming into play. It just depends whenever you hit, wanting to get past it perfectly. But then the 111 of Malcolm STEYN getting held up slightly, so it just depends where you get held up by back markers, but it's all about luck. Sometimes it plays in your favour, sometimes it can completely go against you. But Will Howarth, we've not mentioned them in a little while. He's put his gap up to 3.3 seconds. It just looks like he's cooled off. He did a 54 that time round, a high 54, 54.9, which is almost 2 seconds off the lap record, just over 2 seconds off the lap record that he just set. So he's held up a little bit, he's just relaxed himself into the race, just 2 laps to go. It's time just to not make any mistakes and not make any silly manoeuvres, which for Will Howarth's case, he's quite a mature rider, he's very experienced, so he knows that it's not worth doing that. But Will Howarth, he's just put a dominant performance, and battles are still raging on all the way down the grid. Jamie Dess looking to find any way past Scott Jewett, but it didn't look like he could find any way past. But just the race is getting on now, heading on to the last lap of the race. Will Howarth leading the way. He's done something that is simply magical. I mean, Will Howarth, he went from last place and some. There was about 3 or 4 rows from the bike in front of him. He's met starting pole position, but he decided, I want to have a bit of fun, and that has paid off. He's put in a dominant performance. It's made all the competition. He's scared them all, really. He's getting past the lap traffic, but he will not care. He will not care if this holds him up. He has a 3.4 second lead, and that is Ian Baker. He's just trying to find any way past. He's found the way past. He's just being nice and tentative. He doesn't want to make any silly mistakes on this last half of the lap as we head down to the hairpin. Hard on the brakes, tipped in, looks to find a way around. He does a wheelie, showboating to all the other riders. There's just one corner left, a little wheelie out there too. He comes across to see the checker flag and the celebration to come across the line. He will be delighted with that. You can see showboating, you can see he's happy with that. He put on a dominant performance, and he knows that everyone on the grid will be wondering the same thing as us. How has he done that?
Last to first. It's not often you say that, and it's not often you go from last to first. 3 laps. Will Howarth, take a bow. What a performance. I mean, again, it's almost like he's bored. Like, I honestly don't know how else to put it. He's just doing it for fun, wheeling that, and the fact that he did it in 3 laps as well. I don't really know what else to say. What a performance from Will Howarth. Caps off what has been a fantastic season for him so far, and that's 2 wins from 2, and that is a very, very special win indeed. What a performance from Will Howarth. setting a new lap record as well. Last to first, Jason Pugh manages to bring it home in P2. And it's Jack Andrews. He takes the victory in the MotoTeam Standard class. He was P3 overall with a no longer jump start Jamie King in P4 overall. Then Lynton DI MEOLA is P5 with Malcolm STEYN in P6. Phillip JOYCE is P7. And then Scott JEWITT, third place in MotoTeam Standard. He's P8 with Jamie Diss and Ryan Button rounding out the top 10. That will be it for race 2 for the MotoTeam class. And of course, as always, they'll be back a little bit later on. So don't be afraid. Will Howarth, let's see what antics he's going to get up to, shall we?
Yeah, I mean, great performance there from Will Howarth. It's great to see, and it was a dominant performance as no one could take that away from him. The fact you start from last on the grid and then decide, oh yeah, I'll just do 2 or 3 rows from the second last bike and then still win the race. I mean, one thing it would have also done with him carving through the traffic, it may have also taught the likes of Ryan Button, Jamie Diss, Scott JEWITT, riders that normally wouldn't be up front with Will Howarth. It may have taught them 1 or 2 things just following them, even if it's just for a couple of corners. They may have learned to break a marker or learned a different line that they were previously not taken. But that was an incredible race, an incredible end to the MotoTeam race 2. And next we will have race 3 of the final race of the weekend for these classes as well, the Moto team. The Moto team just go out on their warm-up lap now to do their final race of the weekend. It all matters, it all comes down to this. And actually at the back of our picture once again it's Will Howarth. Will he be doing last to first again?
Seems that way. He's been ludicrous this weekend, as will have absolute domination. And he did a last to first challenge, and last time it was only cool, just suddenly pulled up at the back of the grid. I went, no, I'm starting here, I'm fine with that. And then proceeded to get into first place within 3 laps. He's supposedly starting on pole position, but, you know, we can't guarantee it. Very likely he's going from the back. So realistically starting from pole position is Jason Pugh with Jay King going from P3. Jack Andrews is going from P4 to Scott JEWITT and Malcolm STEYN on row 3. Jamie Diss is 7th with Phillip JOYCE in P8. Then rounding up the top 10 it's Lynton DI MEOLA and Ryan Button with John KEATES' bike of course being ridden by Russ Morgan, and then Ian Baker in P12. Of course, remember that Moto team, it's all about the bike. It could very well be a different rider on the bike, could be a different rider from the name that you're seeing on the side of your screen. Let's see what Will Howarth has up his sleeve, shall we? As they come around now at the end of the formation lap. And well, I can't see where Will is there. Yeah, he's starting even further back, which has been pointed out in the commentary box by Lewis. Thank you. He's starting even further back. He's about. If I was to say, if this was a pit bike race, I think he'd be about P20, P22, I think that is. That is quite far back, and I think he's going to give it a bit of a delay from the start as well. Let's find out as the red lights go on, and the red lights go on for race 3 of the Moto teams. And yep, he's sat there waiting. Oh my goodness me, Will Howarth, talk about drama. He pops a wheelie from the start as well. He's given himself a monumental challenge, but can he go from last to first in even more impressive fashion than the first one? I believe it was Jason Pugh that was leading the way coming out of turn 2. Have to wait and see as they head down. Yes, it is. I believe that is Jason Pugh there on the number 8 machine, and there is Will Howarth. It's taking him 1 more corner to start overtaking people in race 1, so the pressure's on. You know, he was overtaking people in race 1 by turn 2. That was turn 3, so you never know. But Will Howarth, I don't know what else to say. Honestly, this is just what class looks like.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, the fact they started even further back and then waited some, it was a solid 7 or 8 seconds after everyone else, and he's diving around the outside at the hairpin there over the 111 bike of Malcolm STEYN. This is incredible, and he goes around the outside of Lynton. Already, he's made up amazing time, and already he's making up so much time that he's going to be in the podium positions within the next couple of laps. But he's still got amazing riders to get through. I mean, Jason Pugh, this is his opportunity to win the race. He needs to push from lap 1 and try to make up as much time as possible, but it's still 10 laps left. Will Will Howarth manage to make it a Will Howarth show once again? Will he manage to go from last to first? I mean, he's already in 4th place at the moment, which is, it's something else to say the least.
I can't quite believe how he's so much faster than everyone else. And even when he's starting that far back, his best lap currently is 3 seconds a lap faster than the next best lap. I don't need to say anything else, do I? He is carving time, and that was a mistake there. Coming out of the penultimate corner as well for Jack Andrews. And that, well, now that the first proper lap time's being set, and Will Howarth is only a second quicker on that lap, to be fair, now that the proper lap time's being set. But already, surely, Jack Andrews is starting to feel a little bit nervous because Will Howarth is on his way. Now, to be fair to Will Howarth, it was this lap in race 2 that he got into the lead. So, to be fair, he's already given himself a bit more of a bigger challenge to have to fight Jack Andrews, except Jack Andrews has just run so wide, it's actually, well, I don't know what to say, he's already slipped through because Jack Andrews is basically on the other side of the fence at that point. So he's back up into P3 now, but he's not in the lead. Jason Pugh pushing hard in the MotoTeam Open class. Of course, Jack Andrews, he's part of the MotoTeam Standard. We have 2 classes within a class here in the Moto team. You've got the MotoTeam Open, which is, you can get a bit more modification in the bike, and then you've got the MotoTeam Standard, which is basically as close to a road-going bike on the on the track as you can get. And I mean, it must be a bit weird, when you're obviously, Lewis, when you've got different classes out on track. 'Cause I mean, it's quite confusing when you're out on track anyway. There's so much going, because you've got to be so focused. You don't know who's where, you don't know if you're lapping people, if you're fighting for position. And then you've got to take on, there's 2 classes here, and you don't know who's really doing what.
Yeah, I mean, all you really got to do is just put on your racing head and get in front of the person in front of you. Unless if you know, for example, in Jamie King's case, unless you know you're leading your class, you're safe, you're happy, you're fine. But Jason Pugh still leads me by 3.3 seconds over Jamie King. But all eyes are on Will Howarth. I mean, Will Howarth, his best lap was a 52.9 that time round. 2 seconds quicker than Jason Pugh in first place. This man right here, Jason Pugh, number 8, using all the track, and then a little bit more, a little bit cheeky there, putting it to 7 laps to go. He comes across the line, and he's already got past Jamie King. Will Howarth is in second place now, 2.5 seconds. This means he should cap them either this lap or next lap. Will Howarth should be leading the race with a look at that lap times.
Brilliant stuff, almost breaking his lap record a few laps ago as well. He was only a couple of tenths off. So yeah, he is absolutely flying right now, is Will Howarth. And well, Jason Pugh must be well, I don't know if you'd just be feeling nervous or you're just disheartened, like what, I'd just let him through if I was in Jason Pugh's place. I wouldn't even bother putting up a fight, because you know that Will Howarth is coming eventually. There's no point trying to hide from the fact he is just on another level at the circuit. Of course, himself and Darren Anderson, they're the usual 2 suspects up the front. Darren Anderson's a no-show, so it just makes Will Howarth look even better, and at a circuit that we know he absolutely adores, he absolutely loves. And we know as well that this is a track that's all about physical fitness. Comes to the line now, it's now 1 second and another fastest lap. So he's carved 1.5 seconds out of the gap in 1 lap, and they're now coming up to back markers.
And then a new lap record now from Will Howarth in the MotoTeam class. He's broken his own lap record of a 52.823, and that's a 52.814. I mean, he's on it. There's no other way to say it. And now he's on the back of Jason Pugh. Jason Pugh is trying as hard as he can. I think he got held up slightly there from back markers, but it's Will Howarth who's looking anyway past. He's wanted to try it past. Although there's 6 laps left, Will Howarth will want to have the biggest winning margin possible, just so he can say that he done it, just so he can say, I went back to the grid, then some, then waited some, and still won, and set a 52. There's no one else on this that came any close. There's no one else that's even in the 53s. Will Howarth is in a different postcode. Will Howarth is on the back. He's sussing out Jason Pugh. He's playing this pretty smart right now. He's not doing what we're expecting him to do, and that is just a lunge anywhere. He knows that a race wins at stake, and he knows he has plenty of time, and he has the pace. I mean, that time around, Will Howarth was in the 53, so it's just slow for him, but for the race, that is still a crazy pace, and he's just trying to find any way past. It's been 1 lap now, and he still cannot find any way past. Has Jason Pugh finally found an answer for Will Howarth? He's doing all his defending skills, and now he's making Will Howarth's life as difficult as possible. With just 5 laps to go in this race, we head down to this hairpin as Will Howarth looks down the inside, and he backs out of it actually, and he still cannot find any way past, but Jason Pugh runs slightly wide but closes the door on Will Howarth. Will Howarth tries to take a sweeping line there and trying to line up a move for the first corner, but will he be able to do it? Yes and no. He backs out of it actually, and we were catching up to John Keats' bike, which has the Welsh wizard himself on it, and we come up with just 4 laps to go.
I get the feeling that Will Howarth is just toying with Jason Pugh. He's trying to have a bit of fun, and it's just, going for moves and then letting it through, and then, oh no, I'm going to back off. Because you can tell he's bored this weekend, in this class. He has been absolute, and in Minimoto as well, he's just been second to none. And, starting, from the rear of the field ×3, essentially, and look at that. Like you shouldn't be backing out there. Like any racer who was pushing would have gone through by now. He's taking it easy. He's taking it chill. He's having a bit of fun battling with Jason, and then Jason runs wide. Look, he'll back off here as well. Yep, there you go. He'll have a look to the inside. He'll back off here as well. He'll give it a bit of a weave. He's just having a laugh, isn't he? He's just toying with Jason Pugh, having fun. Is this the moment when he finally goes for the lead? Yes, I think it is. No, backs off again. Will Howarth is now, when do you think he's going to go for the move? Because he's got the pace, and that he's just backed off. I mean, his last lap, he's gone from hitting 48s, or 52s rather, he's dropped back to 54s just to lap with Jason Pugh. I mean, this is something else. I mean, I'm not entirely sure. I mean, it's almost like they've bet, and it's like, oh, I bet you I can go from last to first like this much. I'll put a £5 in for you. And Jason Pugh's the one who's made this bet with, and now he's just doing it just to toy with Jason Pugh, because I'm sure Jason Pugh doesn't want to part with that £5 like anything. Will Howarth, there's not really much else to say. I mean, it's just what he's been doing this weekend on that MotoTeam bike is just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, it certainly is. And I mean, he's definitely slowed up. And the thing is, he knows he has the pace, and he's faster than Jason Pugh. So I think he's just waiting till the last lap, and maybe even waiting till the last couple of corners to make this overtake, just so then he can basically taunt everyone else to show I can do this whenever I want. So and it actually looks like he's went through Jason Pugh. He's finally made the move with just 2 laps to go in this race. Will Jason Pugh Jason Pugh looks like he tried to make a move, but it's just a bit too ambitious, and he could not get him back. So now it looks like Will Howarth has been released. Will he pull the pin? It looks so. Will he get back down into the 52s next time round?
Should we see what the gap is when we get to the line? I get the feeling the gap's going to be significantly larger than it was last time. Obviously, bear in mind, Will Howarth was behind, but it was basically nothing. And now it's, as we start the last lap, it's 1.7 seconds. He's pulled 1.7 seconds in half a lap. How? I don't understand. We've got 1 lap to go. Will Howarth's going to try and go for another lap record, I presume. There's a bit of traffic ahead of him. How do you do that? I don't actually know how you can pull 1.7 seconds in half a lap. That is unbelievable pace. Don't think he's going to set the lap record because he's got some traffic here, so he's going to have to back off, unfortunately. But Will Howarth, this is a weekend of domination. This weekend has belonged to Will Howarth. There was no other way to put it. Rename Ellough Park circuit to Will Howarth. I don't know anything, because that has been pure genius, absolute class, and so much more, because this man has dominated everything he's touched. Will Howarth caps off a fantastic weekend. He wins all 3 races in the MotoTeam class, last to first. Once again, it was 2 seconds at the line, and this time it was last to first on steroids, coming from the very back of the grid slots, not just the back of the grid. Unbelievable.
Yeah, it was. There's no other way to put it. It was unbelievable. Will Howarth, great sportsmanship. Even though he dominated that win, Jason Pugh is buzzing for him as well, and he's popping a little wheelie for us. Will Howarth is absolutely delighted. He had fun that race, and that's literally all that matters. And he still won it. So, and he did 52 lap times. He set a new lap record. He achieved pretty much everything that race, and it had everything. And Jamie King, on your screen right now, it's his home race, and he's gotten a podium. Jamie King will be absolutely delighted with that, although at the start of the weekend he did have a jump start. We did taunt him for it. He's proven it right. He's got a podium overall, and jump start Jamie, I think it's fair to say we no longer need to call him that.
You've been relieved of your duties, Jumpstart Jamie. I know he was asking us this morning, how long are you going to be calling me that? And I was like, yeah, we'll give it to the end of the weekend. I think he's safely qualified away from that. Of course, as well, he's the winner of the MotoTeam Standard class this weekend as well. So it's great to see Jay enjoying some success at his home track. Of course, he is the reigning and defending MotoTeam champion on that bike. That's why it carries the number 1. Of course, that caps a dominant weekend in the Moto team. It's well, there's only one thing you can say about the Moto team, and it's Will Howarth.